My name is Madison. I'm 28 years old, and I'm the first doctor in my entire family. I always believed that on the day I finally heard someone say Dr. Madison into a microphone, my parents would be there in the front row crying louder than anyone else. I thought a degree, a cap and gown, and 7 years of killing myself for this dream would finally make me impossible to ignore. I was wrong. My mom didn't forget my graduation. She skipped it on purpose. She chose my brother's backyard barbecue over watching me walk across the stage for my doctorate. And my dad, he looked me dead in the eye over the phone that morning and said, "Don't be dramatic. It's just a ceremony." In that moment, something in me snapped in a way I couldn't glue back together. My mom forgot my graduation on purpose. They chose my brother's barbecue over my doctorate. Dad said, "Don't be dramatic." So, I changed my name and never came back. And that decision changed everything. What I did next wasn't a tantrum. It was cold, calculated, and final. Lawyers, paperwork, a new last name, and a chain reaction that turned my parents into the villains of a story they never imagined they'd be in. Today they say I destroyed the family. But when they were laughing over burgers while I crossed that stage alone, they didn't care that they were destroying me. Before I tell you exactly what my dad said in that call, and how walking away and changing my name blew my whole family apart, tell me what time is it where you are, and where in the world are you watching from? I want to see how far a story about choosing yourself over your own family can travel. Graduation morning, I woke up before my alarm, heart pounding like it was in a race I hadn't trained for. For a few seconds, I just lay there in the half-dark, staring at the ceiling and letting the quiet pretend everything in my life was normal. Then the reality hit. This was it. 7 years of no sleep, vending machine dinners, panic attacks before exams, and second-guessing every life choice I'd ever made were all supposed to pay off today. Today was the day I'd finally hear someone say Dr. Madison Carter through a microphone in a big echoing hall. In my head, I'd replayed that moment 1,000 times. Every version of it had the same details. My mom in the front row, mascara streaked from crying. My dad taking way too many pictures on his phone, zooming in too close and cutting off the top of my cap. Both of them standing up before anyone else when my name was called. My brother rolling his eyes and pretending not to care, but secretly bragging later. That fantasy was my fuel. I clung to it whenever I was so exhausted I couldn't see straight. I told myself, they'll be there when it counts. They have to be. I got dressed slowly, almost ritualistically. Shower, pressed shirt, the black gown that still felt like a costume. I smoothed invisible wrinkles over and over like I could iron out years of being background noise in my own family. I pinned the cap, adjusted the tassel, then stepped back from the mirror and tried to see myself the way I hoped my parents would see me. First doctor in the family, the one who made it, the proof that all their sacrifices meant something. I'd even spent an embarrassing amount of time decorating the top of my cap with neat, white letters. First doctor in the family. It was supposed to be cute, a little proud, a little funny. Looking at it that morning, it suddenly felt like a question. First doctor in the family. Does the family even care? Before I could spiral, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. "Mom," the screen said. Relief flooded me so fast I almost laughed. Of course, she was calling. Of course, they were already in the car arguing about parking and complaining about traffic. I answered with a smile already in my voice. "Hey, are you guys on your way? If you left early, you should still get pretty good seats." They said the sweetie, listen. Her voice cut through mine, bright and too light, like she was about to cancel lunch plans. Not something that only happens once in a lifetime. We mixed up the dates. My brain just stalled. What? Your brother's barbecue is today? She rushed on like she had to get it all out before I could interrupt. We already invited everyone. There's tons of food. Your father's been marinating the meat since yesterday. It's a big thing for him and for your brother's business with clients coming and all that. We can't just cancel. It would be rude. I blinked at the wall for a second, not sure if I'd actually heard what I thought I heard. You're not coming, I said slowly to my doctor at graduation. There was a pause. Then she let out that sigh I knew too well. The one that said, "You're making this harder then it has to be. We'll make it up to you, she said. We'll have a nice dinner next week. We'll dress up. Take pictures with your diploma. We'll post them. It's the same thing. This way, your brother doesn't lose face with his clients. My grip tightened on the phone. It's not the same thing. I said, this isn't some random event. I worked 7 years for this. 7 years of exams and clinics and rotations and barely seeing you. This is the one day you're supposed to show up for me. I heard muffled shuffling, then my dad's voice in the background. Give me the phone. A second later, he was on. Madison, he said with that calm, tired tone he used when he thought I was overreacting. Don't start. We're proud of you, okay? We really are, but it's just a ceremony. They say your name. Everyone claps, you walk, it's over. You already accomplished the hard part. You know, we support you. If you supported me, I said quietly, you'd be in those seats. He made a frustrated sound. You know how much work went into this barbecue. Your brother's built his whole network around events like this. People are expecting us. We can't just blow them off to sit in a crowd and listen to a bunch of names we don't know. We'll celebrate properly next week. Don't be dramatic. There it was. The sentence I had heard in one form or another my entire life. Don't be dramatic. Said when they left my school play at intermission. Said when they forgot to show up for parent-teacher night. Said when they skipped my scholarship ceremony because my brother needed the car. It was the family bandage they slapped over every wound they didn't want to look at. Something inside me went very, very still. My cap and gown hung on the closet door behind me, waiting. My fantasy of them in the front row dissolved so cleanly it felt like it had never been real. Okay, I heard myself say. My voice sounded flat, foreign. Got it. Have fun at the barbecue. My mom jumped back on the line. Don't say it like that. We will celebrate. You'll see. Send us lots of pictures, okay? We want to see you on stage. I ended the call before I said something I couldn't take back. For a minute, I just stood there in my silent room, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the dial tone. I thought about not going, about taking off the gown, crawling back into bed, and letting the day slide past me like it was just another Tuesday. But then a worse thought hit. If I didn't go, they'd probably tell everyone I gave up at the last minute, that I was too emotional, too fragile. So I went. I got in my car. I drove to the university. I parked between minivans decorated with "Congrats grad" written in soap on the windows. Families spilled out of them carrying flowers, balloons, handwritten signs. I walked alone. Inside the hall, the noise was a wall. Cheering, laughter, babies crying, the thump of the band playing something energetic and hopeful. Rows and rows of families filled the seats. People waved at their kids down on the floor. I found my assigned seat in the graduate section and sat down. The chair on either side of me marked with little reserved signs where my parents were supposed to be. I left them there. I couldn't bring myself to peel them off. When the dean told us to stand and turn to wave at our families, a sea of arms went up. Phones flashed. People shouted names. I turned with everyone else, stared at the spot where my parents should have been, and saw strangers. A dad in a baseball cap, a little girl with pigtails holding a stuffed animal. An older couple arguing about the camera. No one who belonged to me. I lifted my hand halfway, then dropped it. Nobody noticed. The ceremony rolled on. Names, applause, names, applause. Every time someone walked the stage and their section of the audience exploded with cheers, I felt a tiny sting, like a rubber band snapping against the same bruised spot of my heart again and again. It wasn't jealousy. It was confirmation. This is what normal looks like. This is what I don't have. At some point, my phone buzzed in my pocket. During a lull, I sneaked a look. A photo from my brother. A perfectly arranged barbecue spread. Smoke curling up from the grill. People laughing. My parents were in the background. My dad with tongs in his hand. My mom holding a bowl of salad. They looked relaxed, happy, present. Wish you were here. The caption read, followed by a laughing emoji and a flame. The timestamp on the photo was the same minute my row was told to stand and move toward the stage. When they finally called my name, Dr. Madison Carter, I walked out into the bright lights and forced a smile so wide it hurt my cheeks. I shook hands with the dean. I took the diploma. I posed exactly like they told us to. Somewhere in the back of the hall, a professional cameraman panned across the crowd, searching for my cheering section, ready to capture proud parents on the big screen. He didn't find any. After the ceremony, graduates spilled out into the courtyard, swallowed by their families. There were flowers everywhere, confetti, people crying and laughing and hugging. Parents wrapped their arms around their kids like they'd just survived a war together. I stepped off to the side, clutching my diploma tube, pretending to scroll my phone, so I didn't look as lonely as I felt. A woman in her 50s, another graduate's mother, walked past me, then stopped and doubled back. "Would you like a photo, sweetheart?" she asked gently. "I can take one of you and your family." I forced a grin. "It's just me," I said, lifting the diploma a little. "My family could make it." Her face shifted. Surprise, then something that looked like pity and anger mixed together. "Their loss," she said quietly. "Let me take one of you anyway. You deserve a picture." I handed her my phone. I stood in front of the campus fountain in my cap and gown, the sun in my eyes, holding a degree I'd earned with everything I had. She snapped a few shots and handed my phone back. "Congratulations, doctor," she said, and walked away before I could cry in front of her. Later that night, I posted one of those photos. No filters, no fancy caption, just first doctor in the family. My parents couldn't make it. They had a barbecue. I watched the likes and comments come in. Friends from school, classmates, a couple of professors, but the only names I searched for never appeared. "No, we're so proud of you." "No, sorry we couldn't be there." "We made a mistake." Nothing. Just silence on their end and grill smoke on my brother's story.
Question for you.
If your parents skipped the biggest day of your life for a backyard party and told you not to be dramatic about it, would you swallow it, forgive them, and move on? Or would that be the day you finally believed you meant less to them than convenience? After the ceremony, my classmates drifted into dinners and parties wrapped in parents' arms. I went back to my silent apartment, dropped my keys on the table, and stared at the cap and gown hanging over a chair like a joke. My phone buzzed with a few congrats, texts, and heart emojis. Nothing from my parents until my brother's notification appeared. A crowded backyard, a smoking grill, his friends with red cups, my parents in the background, mid-laugh. "Wish you were here," the caption said with a laughing emoji and a flame. I sat on the floor back against the couch and zoomed in on their faces. They looked happy, relaxed, fully present, just not for me. The truth settled in my gut. They hadn't mixed up dates. They had chosen the barbecue over my doctorate on purpose. I opened the family group chat, fingers trembling, and typed. "Today I became Dr. Madison Carter. You chose a barbecue over being there. I won't forget that." Typing bubbles appeared, vanished, then came back. Finally, my mom replied, "We said we'd celebrate next week. Your father worked hard for that barbecue. Your brother invited people. Why are you making this drama?" This is exactly why we didn't want a big deal about the ceremony. "No, we're sorry." "No, we were wrong." Just excuses and that same old word, drama. The tears came fast and ugly. I slid down until I was almost lying on the floor, sobbing into my hands, replaying the empty seats next to me, and the sound of my name swallowed in applause meant for other people. When the crying finally stopped, what was left wasn't softness. It was a hard, cold knot and one clear thought. If they could skip this, they would skip anything. I realized I'd treated their love like an exam I could finally pass with the right grades, the right career, the right attitude. But there was nothing wrong with my answers. The test itself was rigged. I wiped my face, opened my laptop, and typed into the search bar, "legal name change process state." It started as a what if. The steps were simple. File a petition, pay a fee, show up in court, publish a tiny notice. People did it all the time to match a spouse or mark a new chapter. I wanted to do it to bury the version of me who still waited for my parents to show up. If I was going to kill Carter, I needed a name that meant something. I pulled an old shoebox from my closet. Inside were letters from my grandmother, my dad's mom, Margaret Murphy. She was the one who came to my school plays when my parents were too busy, who mailed me $5 bills with notes that said, "I'm proud of you. Keep going." In one letter she wrote, "Some families give love like breathing. Others make you earn each breath. Don't stay where you're always gasping for air, Maddie." After she died, no one pushed my parents to do better. The missed events piled up. And "don't be dramatic" became the family motto whenever I got hurt. I traced her signature, Margaret Murphy, and said the last name out loud. Murphy. It didn't taste like neglect. It tasted like the only person who had ever chosen me first. On the petition form, I typed first name Madison, last name Murphy. My hands shook for a few lines, then studied. It felt less like paperwork and more like signing my own adoption papers. I wasn't just leaving them. I was choosing whose legacy I wanted to carry. The next morning, I filed the documents at the courthouse. The clerk stamped them without a second glance. For her, it was routine. For me, it was the moment Carter went on life support. On the way home, I mailed certified letters to my parents. Effective on this date, I will legally be known as Dr. Madison Murphy. Please update your records accordingly. No explanation, no apology. That evening, my brother called. "What the hell are you doing?" He snapped. "Mom is freaking out. Dad says you're trying to humiliate us. You're changing your name over a barbecue?" I looked at his party photos still open on my screen. "I'm not doing this over one barbecue," I said. "I'm doing it over a lifetime." The barbecue was just the proof. He scoffed. "You're being insane, Madison." I answered without hesitation. "It's Murphy, and I'm not insane. I'm being reborn without you." I hung up before he could respond, hands shaking with adrenaline instead of fear. Then I did one more thing. A friend from high school still followed my parents' shared family Facebook account, the one they used for every perfect holiday post. With her help, I got temporary access. I opened the album from that day, my brother's barbecue. Photo after photo of smiling faces and plates piled high. I added one more picture, my lone graduation shot in cap and gown, standing in front of the campus fountain with no family beside me, and changed the album caption to 3 words, "Wrong priorities documented." Then I logged out and deleted the login. It wasn't subtle or polite, but for once the truth sat next to their version of events where everyone could see it. That night, staring at my reflection in the dark window, I asked myself, if they didn't show up for this, what would they ever show up for? The silence answered for me. From that day on, whenever someone called me too dramatic, I heard it as a sign my truth made them uncomfortable, not as a command to stay quiet. Question for you. If you had the chance to legally and publicly step out of the story your family wrote for you, would you take it and be reborn on your own terms? Or would you stay and keep gasping for air in a place you were never really seen? The legal process took months, but in my head, Carter died the night I submitted those forms. While the paperwork crawled through the system, I started living like Madison Murphy already existed. I applied for jobs in another city, some in my field, some in anything that would pay the rent. Most places sent polite rejections. One mental health clinic in a mid-sized city hours away from my hometown offered me a position as a junior psychologist. The director warned me, "The pay starts low. The caseload is heavy, and a lot of our patients come from messy family situations. It's not glamorous." I almost laughed. Messy families. Perfect. I signed the contract. Packing up my apartment felt like performing an autopsy on my life. Books from college. Sticky notes from exam prep. Photos. The photos hurt the most. Christmas mornings with my brother front and center. Me half cut off at the edge of the frame. Birthdays where the cake was angled toward him. My face blurred mid-blink. I realized that even in the evidence of my life, I was an afterthought. I put most of those pictures in a box, taped it shut, and wrote one word on the lid. Before. I left it at the very back of the closet, like a body in a shallow grave. When I emailed my parents to tell them I'd accepted a job out of state, I kept it clinical. "I'll be busy settling in. I need space to focus on my career." My mom replied with a thumbs-up emoji, "And we'll visit once things calm down." My dad never answered. In the new city, no one knew who I used to be. On my first day at the clinic, I introduced myself to the receptionist as Dr. Madison Murphy, even though the court hadn't stamped it yet. The name sat awkwardly in my mouth for half a second, then settled. It felt like finally wearing clothes that fit. That's where I met Ava. She was the senior therapist assigned to supervise me. A woman in her late 30s with tired eyes, a sharp tongue, and a way of listening that made silence feel less scary. We worked long hours together, teaming crisis sessions, and doing endless paperwork. One night after a brutal day with a client whose mother weaponized forgetting important events, Ava tossed her pen down and said, "It's always the same. Parents swear they did their best. Then you see the kids sitting there picking up pieces no one admits they dropped." Something in me uncoiled. "Yeah," I said. "Some of us could write a book about that." She studied me for a beat. "You sound like experience talking, not theory." So I told her, not all at once, not every detail, but enough. The favoritism, the way my achievements were treated like background noise, the barbecue, the empty seats at my doctorate ceremony. I showed her the lone graduation photo and then, side by side, a screenshot from my brother's barbecue taken at the exact same time. "Jesus," she muttered. "They really chose a grill over a doctorate." Her next question changed everything. So she asked, "What are you going to do with that?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" "There's a difference between a sad story and a revenge story." Ava said, "In a sad story, the main character asks, 'Why did they do this to me?' In a revenge story, they ask, 'What am I going to do with what they did?'" That line lodged in my chest. I went home that night and opened a blank blog under a pseudonym, Dr. M. I started writing about family neglect, golden children, and invisible siblings, parents who call you dramatic when you point at the wound they gave you. I didn't use names or locations, but the stories were real. One post in particular poured out of me. "When your parents skip your graduation for a barbecue." I described the empty chairs, the phone call, the photo from the party. I ended it with, "Some people will say you're overreacting. Ask yourself why they're more upset about you telling the story than about the story being true." The blog was small at first, a handful of readers finding it through late-night searches about toxic families. Then one post got shared, then another. Slowly, comments started to appear. "This happened to me. I thought I was crazy. Thank you for saying it out loud." My pain was no longer a secret. It was a signal.
Question for you.
If turning your trauma into a story could help strangers heal, but might one day blow your family's image apart, would you still hit publish? For almost 3 years, I heard almost nothing from my parents beyond stiff holiday group emails and the occasional forwarded meme. I didn't go home. I didn't send gifts. When they called from familiar numbers, I let it ring out. My new life as Dr. Madison Murphy filled up with work, clients, therapy sessions, and quiet chosen friendships. The blog kept growing. One piece about the ghost child and the golden child got picked up by a mid-sized online magazine that covered mental health and family dynamics. They asked if they could republish it. I agreed as long as they didn't use my full name. Just Dr. M, psychologist's name for safety. I forgot about it after I hit send. A week later, my phone started buzzing during my lunch break at the clinic. Unknown number. I ignored it. It rang again and again. Finally, a text. "Madison, please. It's Mom. It's important." I stared at the screen, feeling that familiar mix of dread and stupid hope. I let it go to voicemail. That night, sitting on my couch in the dark, I pressed play. Her voice sounded wrong, tight, panicked. "Madison, if this is still your number, I think that article was about us. People are talking. Your father is furious. Your brother is losing clients, sponsors. They don't want to work with someone from a family that would do that to their daughter. Is that what you wanted to punish us?" She made it sound like I was the one attacking them, not reality finally catching up. The second voicemail was sharper. "This is our private business. I cannot believe you would paint us as abusers on the internet. It was one misunderstanding. And now you're making us look like monsters." One misunderstanding. That's what she called a lifetime of being second choice and one unforgivable decision. I played the messages for Ava the next day. She listened with her arms crossed, jaw tight.
"There it is," she said.
"They didn't call because they realized they hurt you. They called because they're finally feeling a fraction of your pain, and they don't like it. After work, I checked my email. There was a message from a journalist who specialized in family estrangement and justice. They'd read my piece and wanted to do a longer anonymous interview. Your story will help a lot of people who are being told they're overreacting to neglect, they wrote. We think it's important that voices like yours are heard. I sat there staring at the words while my phone buzzed again with another call from my mother. For the first time, I felt the balance of power shift. Growing up, they had the narrative. They told relatives I was moody, too sensitive, always making everything about herself. Now, strangers were reading my version, and instead of calling me dramatic, they were calling it familiar. Days later, my mom finally sent a text that stripped away any remaining illusion.
Please call me.
We're desperate. We not I miss you.
Not I'm sorry.
Just we're desperate. Because my truth was costing them money, reputation, and the polished image they'd built around being a good family. That night, I sat on my couch, phone in one hand, the journalist's email open on my laptop. I imagined my younger self, 16, and crying in her bedroom after her parents left early from her school awards ceremony to make it to her brother's event. If I answered this call to soothe my parents now, who was I betraying more, them or her? I whispered to the empty room. To that girl. If I pick up, am I rescuing them or abandoning you all over again?
Question for you.
When someone only reaches out because your silence finally cost them something real, do they deserve another chance or just the consequences of what they did? In the end, I did call back, but not to apologize. If we talk, I told my mother, it has to be in public. Neutral place. No yelling, no pretending. It was all a misunderstanding. You tell the truth or there's nothing to say. She agreed instantly, which was almost suspicious. We picked a cafe halfway between my city and theirs, a crowded place with big windows and nowhere for anyone to hide. When I walked in, I spotted them immediately. My mom looked smaller than I remembered. Lines etched deeper into her face. My dad looked exactly the same, just older, jaw clenched, arms crossed, anger hiding under a layer of calm. My mom stood like she wanted to hug me. I stopped just out of reach.
Hi, I said.
It's Dr. Murphy now. My dad's eyes flickered.
He didn't like that.
We sat. There was an awkward dance of menus and coffee orders like we were strangers on a bad first date. As soon as the waiter left, my mom leaned in. We're under attack, she began. Ever since that article, people have been judging us. Your brother's sponsors are pulling out. Clients are avoiding him. Your father's position at the club is in question. This is hurting our whole family. I pulled my phone out, opened the family chat screenshot from my graduation day, and slid it across the table. My message: today I became Dr. Madison Carter. You chose burgers over being there. I won't forget that. Her reply: we said we'd celebrate next week. Why are you making this about drama? And beneath that, my dad's voice recording. Don't be dramatic. It's just a ceremony. You mean this? I asked. This is what I described. You're upset that people finally see it. My dad's mouth tightened. We made a mistake. People make mistakes. That doesn't mean you get to smear us online and destroy our lives. Interesting choice of words, I said. Because when you skipped my doctorate graduation, that was not just a mistake. It was a choice. You didn't forget. You prioritized convenience. I just wrote down what happened. My mom's eyes brimmed with tears. You're twisting things. We have always supported you. We paid for your books, your rent. We were proud of you. You were proud in theory. I cut in. But when it came time to show up, you didn't. Not in high school, not in college, and not when it mattered most. Did you forget leaving early from my high school graduation to get to his practice game? Or skipping my scholarship reception because he needed the car? They went quiet. A couple at the next table glanced over, but I didn't lower my voice. Let them hear. For once, I wanted witnesses. We tried our best, my mom whispered. I laughed once softly. No, you tried your best with him. With me? You did the bare minimum and called it parenting. And when I finally pointed at the pattern, you called me dramatic. My dad leaned forward, voice low but hard. We are not villains in your little revenge story. Families have problems, but you don't take them to the internet. That's betrayal. You want to talk about betrayal?
I asked.
You betrayed me every time you made it clear I was optional. All I did was stop keeping your secret. That's not betrayal. That's disclosure. I pulled a printed copy of the article from my bag and tapped the pages. Do you know how many people wrote to me because of this? I said. People who went through the same thing. People who thought they were crazy because their families told them their pain was no big deal. You're not mad that I lied. You're mad that I told the truth where other people could hear it. My mom's tears finally spilled over.
So, what do you want?
You want us to gravel? You want us to admit we're awful parents? I met her gaze. I wanted you to show up. When you didn't, I wanted you to own it. Not spin it. Not excuse it. Own it. The silence that followed was heavier than any shouting match we'd ever had. My dad broke it. You've made your point, he said stiffly. You've punished us. So, now what? You come home. We move past this. You're our daughter.
Question for you.
If the people who broke you only admit they're hurting when their comfort is threatened, do they deserve to keep calling you family? There was a time when hearing you're our daughter would have shattered me. Sent me running back just to be loved a little. Sitting in that cafe, I felt tired. Not angry, not hysterical, just done. No, I said finally. I'm not coming home. My mom recoiled like I'd slapped her. You can't mean that, she whispered. We're still your parents. Biologically, yes, I replied. Emotionally, you fired yourselves a long time ago. I just finally accepted it.
My dad scoffed.
You changed a name on some papers, and now you think that erases blood? I reached into my bag and pulled out an envelope. Inside were copies of my legal documents, court order, updated license, professional registration. I slid them across the table. This doesn't erase blood, I said. It erases entitlement. This is the name on my degrees, my clinic door, my writing. Madison Murphy. That's who I am now. You don't get to use the old name to drag me back into a role that nearly killed me. My mom's hands trembled as she unfolded the papers.
Tears blurred the ink. So that's it?
She asked. You're erasing us from your life? I shook my head. No, I'm just refusing to let you keep erasing me from mine. I invited you into my milestones. Again and again, you chose something else. I believed you. I finally adjusted my life to match what you showed me. My dad's voice rose, telling me I was overreacting, that normal families had worse issues, that I was blowing one event out of proportion. I cut him off. This isn't about one barbecue. It's about a lifetime of learning that I came second. Second to convenience, second to schedules, second to your golden child. My doctorate was just the moment I got proof. The day you confirmed that even at my highest, I still wasn't worth the drive. My mom reached across the table, grabbing my wrist. We can fix this, she begged. We'll apologize publicly if that's what you want. We'll tell people we were wrong. Just don't throw away your family. I gently pulled my hand back. You can't fix rot with fresh paint. You have to tear out the damaged parts. For me, that means tearing myself out of the system where I'm only loved when it doesn't cost you anything. I stood, the chair scraping softly. From now on, if anyone asks you about me, tell the truth. Tell them you had a daughter who became the first doctor in the family and you chose a barbecue over her graduation. Tell them you called her dramatic. Tell them you only reached out when her story started costing you money and status. My dad glared up at me, eyes fierce.
You're going to regret this one day, he hissed.
I looked at him and realized the spell was broken. His disapproval no longer felt like a death sentence. Maybe I will, I said. But I already regret every year I spent begging for scraps of love from people who couldn't bother to sit in a chair and clap. I'd rather regret walking away than regret never doing it. I picked up my bag. My mom's voice cracked behind me, saying my old last name like a spell that used to work. It didn't. I walked out of the cafe, out into the sunlight, and for the first time in my life, the word selfish didn't sting. It felt like self-defense. In the months that followed, the texts came in waves. Anger, guilt, bargaining, nostalgia, then eventually silence. Through relatives, I heard that my brother's reputation took a hit, that my parents complained about being slandered, but still never actually explained what they'd done. That's fine. My revenge was never about them admitting guilt. My revenge was simple. I took myself away. I built a life under a name they don't get to claim. My patients know me as the doctor who believes them. My friends know me as the woman who will show up because she knows what it's like when people don't. My chosen family knows I will never pick a barbecue over their milestones. Sometimes late at night, I think about that empty seat at my graduation and the full chairs at my brother's party. And I feel something close to peace because I finally understand blood is not a free pass to hurt someone without consequences. The real twist isn't that I changed my name. It's that I stopped believing family automatically meant home. So I'll leave you with this. When the people who share your blood treat you like you're optional, is staying to keep the peace an act of loyalty? Or is walking away the first real act of love you show yourself?